The first, it was, we hand out statements at the end of the year, and they're like, oh, look, a piece of paper. What is this, right? Let a few years go by, 5-6 years go by, and, last year I think we had Phil guys leaving with 7-figure checks. And it's like, this is real.
Hey, everybody, it's Justin from Spot Migration here with another episode of Building Scale, specifically the Building Connections series where we've partnered up with Keymakers, a C-suite networking group out here in Arizona who make deals happen is effectively what they do, which is how I bumped into Shane Snyder of Canon & Wendt, who I have an amazing conversation with today. A few high-level things. He started as a journeyman, now is the president of this amazing electrical contractor here in the sweet state of Arizona. They are an ESOP as well as a union shop. We talk a lot about that and like how that works together, which is always very intriguing. If you're a first-time listener of Building Scale, thank you for joining us, as well as reach out. If you are a union ESOP shop, I'd love to hear from you and get your perspective as well. It's really fun to hear Shane's thoughts on not only that, but how he's grown as a leader and how he treats his people, which is super inspiring, which I love because I'm a people person to the T. So this is just a really fun conversation. And Shane is just one of those people that when you talk to him, you just wish you could talk to him more, is the easiest way to put it. So I hope that all kind of comes through for you as the listener. Yeah, so here's the episode. Enjoy as you will. Hey, Shane Snyder, my buddy from Keymakers is the way I like to put it. We met at a Tuesday for 12, first Tuesday for 12, and it was a lot of fun. We were talking about, I think we were talking about data centers that day, but nonetheless, talking business to some degree of sorts. Does that ring a bell?
Absolutely. It was nice to meet you then and good to talk to you again today.
Absolutely. When we had our planning call, I was very, your story is super cool. The way you approach leadership is super cool. The ESOP union thing is super cool. Like, you got a lot of cool stuff going on. So, maybe just to start off, give a quick rundown of the company and how you got into it.
Will do. Yeah, so personally, I got into the industry just through a friend. My friend of mine through high school's dad owned an electrical contractor. We spent some summers separating nuts and bolts. As we, got into college and started working summers and Christmas breaks, started to get into a little more, but I was still dedicated to college. And about halfway through my senior year, my buddy's dad called and said, "Hey, how'd you like to go make a boatload of money in Nevada?" And I said, "Well, this college thing could wait for a minute. We'll do that." So we
Who
went
doesn't like boatloads of money? That's what I always say.
Exactly. And as a single college kid who, pretty much on my own since I was a teenager and did my own thing, I saw it as an opportunity and really haven't looked back. So from then, started as an apprentice, came up through the industry, worked up in Salt Lake where I was from, moved to Arizona, and joined Canon & Wendt. That was interesting in that when I came from from Utah to Arizona, I was working for an open shop or a merit shop. And when I came to Arizona, there was quite a disparity, a difference in the wage, right? So between Utah and Arizona, I came down, I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make this work with a brand new child, my wife? And honestly, the first person I ran into was Michael Kearney Jr. And he said, "Well, if you want more than that, you need to join the union." So that's what I did. And joined Canon & Wendt October 3rd, 1994 as an intermediate journeyman wireman, which is open shop wireman brought into the union fold at that time. So started here October 3rd, 1994. Cannon and Wendt is a full service electrical contractor, doing low voltage, medium, high voltage in the Phoenix, Arizona area since 1945. Was a great fit at the time. However, my first day wasn't real welcoming in that I was new, right? It's new program. These, we're bringing in these open shop guys to our fold, and I showed my ticket to my foreman, and he's like, I don't know what the heck this program is, and I don't know who the heck you are, and I don't know if I like either of you. And it was like, oh, all right, this is going to be interesting. But
so welcoming.
But frankly, the discussion turned to, well, that's awesome. You don't really need to like me. Just put me to work because I want to work. And really, the rest is somewhat history. There's been a lot to happen in between, but it's one of the best moves I've made in my life, moving to Arizona. Let's just say that.
That's awesome to hear. I love that. Also, if I do my math right, does that mean 30-year anniversary? Is that correct?
Yeah, October 3rd will be 30 years this year. We'll be 30 years at
That's
Camp.
awesome.
Pretty proud of it. The only contractor I've worked for here in Arizona. Hopefully the only contractor I ever worked for, and I'm fairly certain it will be. But
things would have to go very awry if that doesn't end up being the case there, Shane.
That's right.
So, awesome. So let's talk about your rise to the top, to the president's seat. How did that go? How do you go from guy that on day one, I don't know if I like either of these things, to then eventually becoming the president of that company? How did that seems like a very hard way to get there.
Yeah, and you know what, for me, and I could just say it's a lot of luck, right? But luck comes with hard work, and we work pretty hard in those early ages. And it's like a lot of advice I give to youth today. My son, actually, who is working for McCarthy, he said, what advice would you give me? And I said, the first 20 years, say yes to everything, right? That gives you a lot of freedom in your last 20 years. So what I did was I said yes to everything. I want to work. I'll work overtime. I'll do the job nobody wants to do. I'll work as often as I needed. I mean, number one, I took a pay cut moving from Utah, right? So I've got to feed my wife and family. That's what drove me. So get in, work hard, put in your time. In 20 years, you could be 30 years, you could be president, right? But it's all about attitude, effort, and those things that really you don't learn in a school or a trade school, right? The attitude and effort.
Yeah.
Show up wanting to be a part of the solution every single day. You're never going to have a problem.
No, that's very true. I feel like at times we've lost that ideology of just like put in the hard work, put in the service to others, put in these things that are not glamorous by any definition of it. And if you just keep clocking in every day, good things will come. Like good things do happen to those that just put in the hard work. And to your point, I asked Lee Benson once about business and like luck compared to, just, being structured and having a system. And his response to me was, well, sure, but like you put yourself in different opportunities and that creates the luck that you get. Yes, not, winning the Powerball is luck. That's just random numbers. Let's see what happens. But when you have any effect and can be intentional with your time or the resources that you have to use, like that changes the luck conversation into like, yeah, well, there's a lot of hard work, to your point, to get to where you are. Maybe some luck shaded your way here and there, but without you putting in the work and being in those positions, it never shakes out that way.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sayings is luck never comes without any hard work, right? Most of the luckiest people are some of the hardest working people right? So, yeah, there's truth to that. You have to be dedicated to what you're doing. You have to put the team before the individual. All of those catchphrases that seem to be going to the wayside a little bit.
Yeah. So Cannon Wendt, early 2000s became ESOP. How did that decision get made? And what was the path to get there? Obviously you would have been there almost 10 years, somewhere in that ballpark at that point. How was that change for an organization? How did it feel?
Well, so from 1964-ish until 2006, we were owned by sole proprietor and Mr. Al Wendt. Al cared deeply about his employees, all of his management employees, which was all his supervision, and anyone in non-bargaining position belonged to profit sharing at that time. So he shared the profits with the foreman, the supervision. It didn't go down to the rank and file, but it did include the union members that were in the management ranks. So always kind of giving back the company to the individuals. And as he began to get older in 2006, he was, 80 years old. The options of buyers were getting thinner because his requirement was that his people were to be taken care of, not cleaned house and gotten rid of. Yeah. So he could never come to terms with any of the roll-ups, so to speak, because none of them would guarantee that they would take care of his folks. That's when the idea of an ESOP started bouncing around. It gave him the opportunity to do what he needed to do, which was sell the company, insulate his family trust and what he had going on, and then ensure that we were going to have some viability beyond his demise. Quite honestly, we had at the time we were probably 250 people wondering what was going to happen if the guy in the corner office just didn't show up tomorrow. And that weighed heavily. We actually lost probably 18 people to a competitor during those times just because of the uncertainty in the leadership. That, along with his need to insulate his personal success in that, is what drove drove the ESOP into existence in 2006. He, like any other, we'll call them good leaders, most of them have a little bit of an ego, right? I don't think Al ever thought he was going to go anywhere, right? He was going to be in this chair forever and just ride it out. He'd be the first one to never pass or whatever the deal was. So in 2006, we finally got that to go. And really, to get him the money he needed out of it at the time, the way it was structured, we had to include our field because of that qualifying payroll. So we became, in 2006, the only union electrical contractor to include its employees in the ownership structure. So a little unusual for the union side of things, but if you flip the microscope around, it's truly probably the most socialistic way to own your business in today's construction industry. So from that, we've got buy-in from our employees in times like today when everyone's paying incentives to come to this job or that job. We've got it built in because you are incentivized by being an owner at Cannon & Wendt. And it's really, really paid dividends for it.
No, that's one. The profit share before that is fascinating to me, because like that's not seen as much. So the philosophy of the ESOP was somewhat already there. Like it was just so built in because of the leadership at that time prior to the ESOP occurring. So wow, okay, so then. So it's 2006. When do you expand into leadership role and eventually president? When does that happen?
So from 2006 we became ESOP, and Al Wendt remained president until 2011. From 2006 to 2011, we operated with basically a large contract division and a special project division. David Fagan was in charge of the large project division, and I was in charge of special projects. Basically running two companies side by side within the same company, because we competed all the time, and it was good for the organization because it created competition, it created some fun and rivalry, and it was just good. So from 2006 to 11, that's kind of how we operate. And then in 2011, Mr. Wendt passed away, and David Fagan became president in 2011. So 2011 to 2019, David operated as president. I was executive vice president. At the time, the board set it up as a succession to David, kind of putting that in place so that we had time to build our path as in the next 8 years before 9 years before he took off. So from 11 to 20, David remained, or 11 to 19, David remained as president. In 2019, he became CEO. I became president. And then in 2020, he retired and I took over as president. So
yeah, wow, okay.
Been a run. I've held from intermediate journeyman wireman to journeyman wireman to foreman, general foreman, project manager, division manager, vice president, executive vice president, president. But,
I guess if you know how to do every job in the company, you're probably good suited at looking at it from the top level.
At least in my, whether or not I can, all these folks here do their jobs much better than I could ever do them. But it does give me some perspective into their day. I love going in the back and spending time with my shop guys. I love talking with just because I've been there, I've kind of felt what it's like to be in those trenches, and it's good to have that feeling every once in a while, right? So to go back and if you can talk to folks and talk to them in a way that they understand that they deal with every day, that's always a good thing for an organization.
Yeah, no, for sure. Our connection through Keymakers, I actually talked to Jason this morning and I said, oh yeah, I'm interviewing Shane today. And he said, oh my God, I can't wait to hear this. He was very excited about it. And I'm like, well, I'm happy. Is there things that you want me to ask him? Like, you're so excited, you're giddy on the phone with me this morning. And he's like, how he takes operations and like having operational mindset and blends it with the people side is top notch, which I concur. Based on the conversations we've had, I totally agree. So let's talk a little bit about that. So now that you're sitting in the big seat up there, you've gone through all the different kind of levels of different roles underneath, to certain degrees. How do you find this balance of being a true operator, but then also being so in touch that you want to go to the back with the shop guys and hang out for a bit? How do you blend these two beautiful sides together, Shane?
I belong in the back with the shop guys, so I'm gonna do whatever I can on the operational side of it to get that time so that I can be with the shop guys. I wish I could tell you there was a I'm following a plan that I have written down, and it's like, this is what I'm doing, this is my plan, and it's working because quite honestly, I think I'm just being me and doing me, and I don't know that it's probably a lot from everybody that I've learned throughout the years, and then a lot in observation. And again, I think having worked in those roles gives me a little perspective into what they might be going through in that particular day, whether it be work related or not, quite frankly. And that's the other big part of it. Most of your folks are just out there working really, really hard. and we're driving the bus, right? And sometimes we forget to look back and make sure that everybody's okay and the arms and legs are inside the vehicle and we are moving in the right way. It's good to go back and to make sure you're making that connection and touching people. And everyone's different, and some folks don't want you anywhere near them, and that's fine, right? Let's just give them what they need to get their job done, and then make sure they're okay. How we accomplish that, again, I think that's different for every person. Al Wendt used to say, there's all kinds of people in this world, and I think I have one of each here, which from a leadership position is probably one of the greatest things that could happen to you, because it forces you to develop your management style to your folks. And I do have one of everybody here, and there are not, well, at least not often, two people that I can talk to the same and garner the same results. It just isn't that way. In the old days, yeah, you just said it, and that's what it was, and that's what people did. Today, it's you said it, some people do it, some people don't, and other people want to know why, right? And the why, that's our fault, right? Because we always were coming up, hey, don't just do it, ask why. Demand to know why. Why are you doing that? So that mentality is evolved through our industry. I think when we talked earlier about maybe out to pasture or in the Hall of Fame or Academy sense. It's way too early for that. There's still so much cool stuff that's going to happen in our industry that I'm just dying to see. I'm in no hurry to get out of here. At least
no, I agree with you with the Hall of Fame is something you think about after your career. But I do want to mention that you are a Hall of Famer now, even though you're humble and you don't like to brag about things. But somebody's got to do it, so why not me? It's kind of how I'll go about that. So ESOPs are interesting in construction, just straight as that statement is true. When you blend that with a union construction company, that has to make it even one more rare, and then two more interesting. How does that balance go when you have owners that are also identifying as a union member?
At the first, it was, we hand out statements at the end of the year, and they're like, oh, look, a piece of paper. What is this, right? Let a few years go by, 5-6 years go by, and, last year I think we had field guys leaving with 7-figure checks. And it's like, this is real. So
this isn't monopoly money. This is real money.
So once that word starts going, more people pay attention, right? You'll still have it, and you know what? To each their own. And some of the brotherhood, the union guys are, they don't like that because that's too close to the company, and they won't work here because of it. And that's okay. I get it. It's not for everyone. We're not for everyone. But we are for folks who love to work hard, love great benefits. We pay all the union benefits with healthcare and all the pensions and all of that. And then we throw the ESOP on top of it. So we truly want our folks to live a comfortable life, or at least have those things, the necessities as far as healthcare, and make a good wage and living. And we're pushing every day to try and enable someone to stay home with the child, and we're doing what the market will give us. We did recently, through NECA and IBEW, they did create a stipend for any female electrician who gives birth, is out on maternity leave. They're paying those ladies now a stipend during their time off, which is outstanding, because we need more folks in the industry, as you surely know.
Oh yeah.
And those folks are coming from the female ranks of our society. That's really, if you look at our industry, that's the only place we fall short, right? 50% of society is female, and 4% of skilled and 12% of construction is female. We need to do better, and I think we've tripled that in the last probably 3-4 years, and I think in the last 3-4 years you've seen our industry change in ways you haven't seen before. I think it's changing for good. I think we're getting new, fresh ideas, and we're tackling all of these sticky problems that we're having wrapped around people, right? You can't find people.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry. I got off
I do find it, we talk to so many owners of construction companies and frequently ask about labor because it's obvious, right now that's a giant headache for just about everybody. And it is true. When you immediately eliminate half the population, you're already working from a deficit. So like just mathematically, it starts becoming, well, it doesn't make the most sense and so on and so forth. But when you look at your company, right, so you have union and all the benefits that come with that, as well as an ESOP, I have to imagine that's got to, unless you're totally against union ESOP concept, like that has to help in regards to recruiting, yeah?
Absolutely. We have our core group here. We probably 350 folks from the local, and yeah, those core folks probably aren't going to go anywhere as long as we've got work for them, because their ESOP accounts just keep growing and getting bigger. So that's our goal, and that's what we're pushing for, and we'll keep striving for.
No, totally. So, and you may not be doing this, my guess, at this point in time, but when you're trying to find new talent, if it's young, they need to know how to do the job. But if they're more senior, they need to be able to fit the culture, right? Like that becomes the battles are different, right? Because it's like, I don't need to teach you the job. You understand the job. That part, you've been doing it for 15 or 20 years. You get what to do. It now becomes more, are you a great fit for us? How do you vet that out? Or how does the team vet that out of finding not just any person that has a pulse, but somebody that is really, truly the culture fit that you're looking for?
We'll run them through several interviews through each of our managers. And then we also use it's called Culture by Choice. And basically it's a psychological eval that they'll take, and you'll get the whole quadrant thing. And it helps align them with our needs based on what we've had in the past and what we see out of those traits. Those things actually do help quite a bit. You can tell a lot about a person by the way they answer some of those questions. And it does help us at least get to the right beginning. As far as personalities and and all, that's all just muddy stuff you got to get through. Hopefully you can shake part of that out as you send them through a multi-panel review or interview at the start. But at this point in time, like anything, you're going to there's some risk involved. We're never 100% accurate. We feel like we do a good job in that we haven't had much turnover through the years. We're very particular about who we hire. And we'd rather run a little lean than get the wrong egg. So the combination of that kind of process is and helped us make sure we get the right people. We've been
that makes sense. I think running not running so lean where it's problematic for your client experience, obviously, but making sure that it's the right person there, because if it's the wrong person, it's just really just a waste of time, right? Because I mean, sure, maybe they did a couple projects or whatever their role is, depending on it is, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, they're not going to be here long term, which means I've spent all this money to recruit and train and get a culture fit. And if they're not a culture fit, then it also becomes more poisonous to my culture than I want it to be, right? If you're intentional with your culture and you decide to put in individuals that don't have those same values, it becomes like, oh, this is okay now? Like we're okay with this, which then can lead to, repeated behavior, which becomes super problematic at the core, right? Yeah. How have you seen the bad apple, theory work in your years in service?
Probably several thousand different ways, right? They either eliminate themselves a lot of times, just out of their sheer inability to conform or to allow themselves to enjoy anything at all, right? They just get so miserable in their own existence that they'll just walk away at some point, or push it to a point to where we have to do something to let them go. Rarely has that happened to us. More times than not, it's a mutual understanding. It's like, hey, look, this is just not really going well for anyone. You know, if you need me to put in a good word for you somewhere else, I will. But not working out. But like I said, not very often. Most of the folks we bring in are here until they retire, and that's the goal.
No, that's great. I mean, that's what we should all strive for. We don't want to just fill a seat. We want to find a true asset that we're going to have for the longevity of time, which together becomes a full investment for both sides. So that makes sense. Yep. So I want to talk a little bit more about Keymakers. Obviously, that's how we got connected and came together. So for those of you listeners that don't know, Keymakers is a C-suite networking group here in Phoenix, which has a pretty big hand in the construction space in regards to the members that are in there. Not that all members have to be in construction, but there is certainly a high demographic of that. So what value have you seen? Like, what has come from that other than this amazing podcast episode, which is obviously top of the list, above everything else. But other than that, what are some benefits you've seen?
Well, beyond the incredible opportunity this is, it's been meeting Cassie a while back, and then meeting Jason more recently. Cassie, quite frankly, I think I saw it was her and there was another gal on, and that was back when they were CCS doing these silly boardroom videos or whatever on LinkedIn. And I think I caught it one day and it was like, and it was really funny. And then the next time you see it, so you're watching, and then it turns out that was really close with basically our ex-CEO's son, Winston Fagan, who was over at CSS, and we got hooked up, went to lunch, and there you go. They invited me to I think the first Keymaker deal, and that was an awesome opportunity. Great to meet a bunch of folks. I think I met Andrea from Sun State at the time. We had
her on the podcast as well. Look at that.
Great story there. And we've been going back and forth as, we're going to need to build a new building here at some point. And so we've been talking about that. So some good business contacts, and then, some good folks to just chat with, people in your own space that, I was chatting with someone about, I think it was the first night. It's like, hey, I'm having a brain freeze here, but it's imposter syndrome. You ever have that? And it's like, what do you think? And then we just started talking about it. It's like, holy cow, I'm glad I'm not the only one, right? So it's good to get out and to talk to folks in your position, and just to kind of, for a sanity check, to know that, you haven't lost your mind. Things are normal. This is the way stuff goes. Yeah. Yes, being president, yep, you become on an island, right? Nobody wants to talk to you no more. All the people that used to, they don't talk to you no more because now they're afraid to talk to you. Which you do everything you can in your power to alleviate, and I'm not there yet because I'm not willing to quit, but I think that line's just hard to break. right? To get
Oh yeah.
everyone to open up to me with everything is probably not a reasonable ask on my side,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't stop me from trying. So, connection to the people is everything.
Yeah, no, frequently the leaders we talk to through Keymakers, it's not just, hey, you introduced me to this now business partner that, you know, we can trade deals back and forth, projects back and forth, which is amazing. There's no question about that. Obviously, you know, we are businesses. We want to do more business, but the personal side of like, no, I met somebody I'm just becoming a really close friend with, like, which is such a funny thing to say. As we age, frequently it's not as easy to find friends that are in the same mindset or the same situation you are, that can relate to all the things that, you know, majority of my week, which is work, deal with. It's like, you know, how many presidents of a union ESOP electrical company of 350 plus people are there? Not that many. I know one, and he's sitting in front of me right now. But other than that, I don't know one.
Yeah, if we're the only ESOP electrical contractor, and you think about it in that light, holy cow, you just scared the shit out of me. Sorry, I just swore on you.
I didn't mean to scare the shit out of you. That wasn't my intention. It was more of the beauty of finding like-minded human beings that you can just relate to, which is to me, you know, one of my core values is 1% better for our family, right? 1% better every day. If we can get 1% better every day, we're always in a better place. And how you do that is learning from smart individuals like you, Shane. Like when I get to have this conversation, you may think, oh, this is just what I do every day. And for me, I'm like, this is amazing. Like this is the greatest thing I get to do all day. So
I'm going, this guy's crazy.
I really appreciate it.
I'm going, this guy's crazy. He thinks this is amazing. My wife's going, my wife's going, he must be bored. I listen to you all the time.
No, that's okay. My wife Jamie feels the same way about me. I'm pretty confident she thinks I'm crazy. So I think that just comes with the territory.
Par for the course. Good deal.
Absolutely. Shane, this has been amazing. What else you want to tell the people? What advice would you give the people that either are in a position like yours, or maybe, you know, somebody that's just trying to elevate their professional or personal life? What would you say?
If you're beginning your career, work hard, work often, and work as much as you can. Be the yes man. And I know that doesn't sound, you know, to people who want to be the boss, being the yes man doesn't sound like a career path, but it is. You need to learn every position within the building. You need to know how those positions interact with one another. And once you do that, you'll have a better understanding of how they all come together. For people that are already there, listen to your folks, whether they're talking to you or not, they're speaking, and make sure you do listen to them, because their voice is loud and carries, whether you choose to hear it or not.
I love that. That's great advice. If people wanted to get a hold of you, Shane, what's the best way for them to do that?
Snyder@cannonandwendt.com, or call me at the phone, LinkedIn, any of it. I'm always available. Okay. Again, back from 1994 when they gave me a company phone, I don't think I've turned it off since. So if it rings, I answer. And that's something that, I mean, it would probably be cool to have my wife on here and have her listen to some of this. But going through all those younger years when you just you just always answer. It's like, why do you got to answer that phone? It's like, well, the next call could be that $1 million job, right? The next call could be that. The next call could be that. And that's always kind of that mentality I've had. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have a lot of patience for sales calls and, pushy people and all that. But when it comes to putting in the work, to getting the work, putting in the work to make sure your people are taken care of and they have the right tools, equipment, information, and and I haven't even mentioned our EMR is 0.57, and that's the most incredible thing about all of this.
Bam!
Is that
Safety.
we're getting them home with an ESOP account, and then we're getting them home safe, right? If I can do that, if we can do that, then we've done our job. And I didn't get to mention our 3 C's with company, clients, and community, because all 3 of those in our minds, if they're not taken care of, none of it's worth anything. So you must take care of all 3, and we feel like we do a really, really good job of giving back. So that's why we're here. We want to be important to our community. We want to be important to our clients, and then certainly to our company and to our employees.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I love the 3 C's. I'm total analogy and like letter guy. This is how my brain functions. So I love the 3 C's. Shane, this has been super, super great. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to talking to you more and more, as much as I can, without annoying you, certainly.
Absolutely. No, thank you very much. It's always good to talk about what we do and try and maybe help someone who's trying to do the same thing coming up along the way. So thank you and for your time and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important to get these messages out there for other folks to be able to grab onto and maybe pick up a little bit of stuff to get us through the day, right? Get us through that fear of what the hell do they call that? It was a great ending too, and I just missed it.
We like to call it the entrepreneurial tax, is what we call it. We say, hey, if we could show somebody or give somebody an idea that makes them avoid that tax that is inevitably going to come at them in their journey, then we're doing a really, really good job here at Building Scale. So, you have definitely helped. I can already see the nuggets and already can see the splice clips that will be all over LinkedIn. So, thank you again so much for your time, Shane. And to our listeners, I hope you had such a good time, because I know I did. Shane looks like he's pretty happy, so he must have had at least an all right time. And until next time, adios.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
Keep building scale.
Scale.